Hello everyone, my name is Barira and you are watching my channel, The Wellness Valley. In this episode, I have a very special person, Cassidy Amber. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So before we jump into your introduction, I can tell my audience that Cassidy is an author, speaker, vibrancy mentor, and my favorite part is the energy activator. So we will come to know about who is that person who has touched, moved, and inspired. But before we move into the story, please share what do you do for a living?
Yes. As you mentioned before, I'm a holistic health and vibrancy life mentor, as well as author of the #1 new release in holistic medicine and energy healing on Amazon. And I also am an international speaker. And the basis of what I do is helping people create higher levels of quality of life through creating vibrant health, vitality, and deep fulfillment within themselves.
Wow, amazing. So, what's your story? Who is that person?
Yes. So how did I get here? Like how did I get to all of these different types of ways of sharing this? And what do you mean helping people create a higher quality of life? Some people don't understand it quite at the beginning, and that's okay. But you'll understand through my story. So my story starts around 11 or so years ago. It's crazy how time flies. I guess it's 11 years ago now. And at the time, I started to have mystery medical symptoms. So I had gained over 50 pounds in under 3 months, eating less than 500 calories per day. Was turning purple. I had all of these different health issues that started to come up. I was dry heaving every day. I don't know if you know what that is. It's like you try to throw up, but you can't. There was nausea, vertigo, chronic infections, allergies to over 15 plus foods. I mean, my body was just not doing well. And I went to doctor after doctor, test after test, and they kept telling me that I was fine, I was all right, it was all in my head, or that they were blaming it on the weight that I was gaining, even though I wasn't eating enough to be able to gain that weight. So something was clearly wrong. And then I was accused of closet eating, which is like when you say you're eating this much, but you're really eating so much more behind the scenes, which was not the case. And so after 2 years of this back and forth of just my quality of life going, it was not as what I wanted it to be at such a young age. And I was just, uh, it was after 2 years of this back and forth. I finally found a doctor who would prescribe me medication that drastically helped with the symptoms. And I'm so grateful for this doctor. I'm so grateful for this medication. However, it it was suppressing the symptoms.
Okay.
And after 5 years of symptom suppression, I'm very grateful I had this time to be able to suppress the symptoms, but it doesn't last very long, right? So after 5 years of symptom suppression, I went through a health crisis. And in this health crisis, all these symptoms had come flooding back and new and worsening ones started to form.
Oh,
And yeah, and had such unbearable physical pain that it felt like knives were ripping me open from the inside out. And my pain had become so unbearable that I started to have panic attacks daily because I was so afraid of the physical pain I was in. And the panic attacks had gotten so bad that they would wake me up in the middle of my sleep to have a panic attack. I would wake up in the middle of the night. And I remember there's one particular night where I woke up from a panic attack and I was afraid of the physical pain I was in, and I was in unbearable physical pain at the same time. And yeah, I remember taking a pillow and just screaming into it because I didn't want to wake up my family. They had been up with me day in, day out, trying to help me to find comfort, but the pain was never ending. And mm, I just remember looking up in the darkness of the night in my room as I'm laying there on my bed and just saying, God, please don't wake me up tomorrow. And it was a very dark moment for me to be in. And during this time in my life, there were some other things that were kind of crashing and burning. Not
Okay.
only was there a health crisis, there was a life crisis. And during that time, I had ended a 15-year friendship that had felt like a divorce. I mean, we had been so codependent and toxic for so long, breaking that apart was really difficult. And during that same time period, I also was broken up by who I thought was the love of my life at the time. You know, your first love, you think is the love of your life. So
Magical
my
moment.
heart was broken. Yeah, it happens. My heart was broken. My body was in physical pain. And I also, during this 1 year period, had 4 family members die.
Oh
So
my God.
soul shattered, heartbroken, pain just everywhere. And it was really dark. And I remember a couple of things woke me up. One of them being one of those family members who died, he was 32 years old. And when he was dying, he was texting me, Cassidy, I don't want to die. I have so much left to live. And I remember when he died, feeling this duty, this will, not only to live for myself, but for him and for everybody else that doesn't have a chance to live, right?
Yeah.
And it was that was tough. And I remember another thing that woke me up was I had a dream. I hold dreams in high esteem. I believe they give us messages.
Yeah.
And in this dream, I was walking on a huge frozen lake of some kind. It had to be the dead of winter and the dead of night. And I looked behind me and there was miles of ice behind me. And I looked in front of me, and about a mile away in the darkness, I could see a hospital. And as soon as I saw that hospital, I felt this deep desperation that I needed to get to that hospital. And so I started to walk, and I started to walk, I started to walk, I started to walk. And as I started to walk, the ice cracked beneath me. I plunged into the water, and I was accelerating deeper and 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 deeper into the water. And I remember when I finally stopped accelerating into the water, I looked up and I was miles away from the surface. And I remember in that moment, I really felt, this dream felt so vivid. I felt parts of my body going numb, the cold water biting at my skin. And in that moment, I thought it was so real. I thought it was a perfect opportunity to die. I was ready to accept a cold, dark death. And that was very dark. And then I looked up, and do you know when you see a small glimmer of light through water?
Yes.
I saw a small glimmer of light where I had fallen. And so I started to swim. And there was this will to live that washed over me. But there was also a fear, like, is it too late to want to live?
Yeah.
Just started to swim. So I started to swim. I started to swim. I started to swim. I started to swim. And as I was swimming, it was getting harder and harder to swim. It was like taking more and more effort. It was like swimming through water, then swimming through rice, then swimming through molasses, then swimming through jello, and then concrete. And it took all of my strength. But after what felt like hours of swimming, I pulled myself onto the ice. I was super excited. The sun was coming up. And then this loneliness crept up my spine, because I realized no matter how far I just swam, I was still stuck alone on ice. And in my defeat, I looked off to the side, and then I saw 2 men in a boat. But the boat was half sunken into the water.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow they got to me and they asked me, do you need help? I say, yes, I need help. But in the back of my mind, I was wondering, how can they help me if they're struggling in their lives themselves? I mean, if they're drowning themselves, like if they're bringing themselves into this depthness of the water. And I remember waking up with 3 very significant messages. One of them being I was asking help from people who in my life, who in their life they were struggling themselves. The second was that I had a will to live. I wanted to live. And the third was that it was going to take all of my strength to get out of the dark hole that I was in. There was going to be more and more resistance, and then take more and more of my strength as I got close to the surface. And I remember taking a black notebook and I wrote down Cassidy's health plan or Cassidy's healing plan. I can't remember which one. And I remember writing that down and saying, I'm going to get healthy and absolutely nothing is going to stop me.
Oh.
It brought me down the most incredible journey of healing physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It brought me to a space and place where I got to fully love myself. It was a spiritual awakening. It was a journey of going into remission. It was a journey of finding higher quality of life that I didn't know was possible. When we think about health, we think about not being sick. We think about avoiding pain and illness. But on my journey, I found there's a health that we can feel in every single one of our cells. It's a health that allows us to feel connected with life, connected to other people, connected to our bodies and ourself. And it's a health that allows us to live at a higher quality of life that we probably couldn't even have imagined beforehand. I absolutely was starting to live a life and a quality of life that I never even knew was possible. And it was my greatest gift. And I remember people kept asking me, what are you doing? Like, they just saw one woman one day and one woman the next. And they're like, who is this? And how did you transform? And people kept asking me, what's that one healing modality? What's that one diet? What's that one doctor? What's that one thing that you're doing? And I had to say, it's every single decision I made towards my health. I could write an entire book about what I did. And so I did. And I created my book, my programs, and my speaking is all around the vibrancy codes, which is what I call that health that you can feel in every single one of your cells is what I call vibrancy. And so I help people go through the process of implementing and integrating the vibrancy codes into their life so that they can create vibrant health, vitality, and a higher level of quality life that is available to them.
Amazing. My God, thank you so much for sharing. Do you want to add one more, any other thing as well?
That's my story and that's what I do. So I think that's pretty complete.
As in the end, message for the audience.
Well, a message for the audience, I would say is when you want something, when you desire something, I invite you to come with the mentality of, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to make it happen and nothing's going to stop me. If you want to create a higher quality of life, whatever you're looking to create in your life, that's truly a heart-centered desire. It is a spirit desire. Create it and allow nothing to stop you. And believe me, you'll be able to achieve anything that your heart truly desires.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, for saying yes to this episode. And to all my friends and family, please, for more further details, I will be sharing Cassidy details such as website and the book name at the end of this episode. And like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you have any story to share, please do your story as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.